The next step in making this vessel is to smooth out the surface. For that, we're going to planish it. I've left the top edge here rough, and I've drawn concentric circles with my compass, just like in the raising process. Next, I'm going to pick out a variety of stakes that I think might work for the process, and this is a guesstimation. You're never really going to know until you try it out, so I'm trying to match the curves with different stakes. And I'll grab a handful of them just so I have them nearby in case one doesn't work. I could just use another one. Alright, so I'm looking at those mushroom stakes for the bottom, and a vessel might need multiple stakes. For that, I was thinking a ball burr. Or I could even potentially use the end of that larger stake that has a round on it, like through that area. This might be the stake for that. Even the round part might work for that as well. And if that larger one's too large, there's this one, and that could get probably this whole area. So I'm going to keep all of them nearby just in case. Alright, so we'll start off with the mushroom stake. I picked out a planishing hammer and polished it. So again, planishing is pinching the metal between the hammer and the stake. And I'm going to start by doing about the size of a quarter and then working in a W pattern facing out. And you can hear the difference if I'm hitting the stake or I'm missing the stake. So pay close attention to that. Again, planishing, the planishing hammer is kind of acting like a machine, a piston that keeps hammering in the same spot. Your left hand, if you're right hand dominant, is the part that moves the vessel. So my planishing, where I'm hitting, isn't moving so much. And again, we're trying to cover, 100% of the surface. And there's different ways of planishing. Some people will cover about 50% of the whole surface and then come fill in the blanks later on. And that way they kind of work hard and establish the shape of the vessel first. I have more of a tendency to kind of leave it work hardened from the raising process and try and get it pretty close to the final shape. And then I work from the center out kind of slowly and methodically, and you'll notice how as I'm planishing, I planish back into the area that I had just planished. That way it's sort of blending the surface of the material. And one common mistake when people first start off is they hit the vessel too hard. If you're making good contact, if you look in there, you can kind of keep track of how well you're planishing by seeing how the stake is cleaning up the interior vessel. So as I was saying, a lot of times people will hit it too hard. If you notice, I'm just using the weight of the hammer, and if you have good contact with your stake, you don't need heavy hammer blows for this process. All right, so I've covered about the size of a $50. Now I'm going to, again, work in a W pattern, planishing back into what I've done. And we'll move out a little bit. You can see here I'm in the second row. I've moved down. And watch how I blend up into what I've already planished. So again, I'm sort of working into a W pattern and smoothing and blending out all the planes. And this original stake is seeming to work pretty well so far, so I haven't changed anything yet as far as what stake I'm using. Alright, so again, we'll move out one more ring. I think I'll be able to catch this on the edge here. Let's try. And again, sometimes you try and find that stake, and if it's not working, look for another one that might fit. It's not uncommon for people to have to make stakes that fit into different areas depending on the shape of your vessel. After a little experience, I try to cater the shapes of my vessels to the stakes that I know that we have at ECU. That way I don't run into problems or have to spend too much time making new stakes but it periodically happens, and that's common for a silversmith to have to do that. And again, here we'll just work our way around the vessel in a very systematic fashion, checking the inside, just to make sure we're not missing any areas. Okay, so we've done about this much. Now this is probably the hardest part, is that curve. So to find something to fit in there, we'll try this first. I might even tilt the stake a little bit to get a better angle with it. You know, I'll look at the stake for the cleanest spot, because sometimes there's little dents or bumps or scratches. Because I'm putting it in an angle, I really want to tighten down on that. And that'll just be, I'll be able to see that curve a little better. And we'll try this and see how that works. You can hear I'm not finding the stake. Add a little bit. Now if I'm struggling to find the stake, often I'll try something else. So I might, switch the stake and see if there's something better. I'll try the curved end of this large stake and see how that works. Again, I'm looking for a stake that fits that curve. The closer it fits to the curve, the easier it will be to planish. So I'm really looking for something that matches that curve. You can kind of see I'm searching here to see if I can find that. So maybe I'll try something this is a smaller stake, and I'm going to try the curved end of that. I'm showing you all this because a lot of times it's not easy to figure out what's the best tool for the job. So you really have to sort of experiment and test things out. And this seems to be working a little bit better. And remember, planishing is not a fast process. It takes concentration, it takes patience, it takes a delicate hand, and it takes practice. And you'll see I'll just work my way up the vessel here. Again, checking the inside just to make sure I'm hitting all the areas. You'll see here I switched over to the bigger stake because it was fitting the tail end of this curve. And we'll just work our way around the vessel. You can kind of see how I'm going up one row at a time, blending it with the prior row. And this larger stake seems to be fitting it pretty well for the rest of the time. Now when you do your edge, planish a lot lighter. You don't want to pinch out the edge or thin out the edge too much, so I ease up on my hammer blows when I'm right at the edge.